We have two particular problems leaving our berth if you're single-handed. The first and worst problem is that our yacht kicks to port in astern. So it's very hard to make a starboard turn, which is what we need to do to get out of this berth. And the other problem is the end of the pontoon is just over there on the port side. You can see it on the other side of that yacht. Now here I'm powering in forward against a midship cleat line. It's on the end of the pontoon. It goes to the midship cleat line on the starboard side of the yacht, but it's not held on the cleat. It goes through the cleat and then it's held on. I put the loop through the cleat, and then there's a pole, a broom handle, goes through that loop so that I can release it without having to leave the cockpit later on. The problem here is I'm in forward drive, and because I'm in forward drive, the bow is coming over towards the starboard side, which is the wrong direction. Because I want to turn off to starboard, I need that bow a little bit further round, so that's why I'm pulling that stern line, the pontoon stern line. I'm just pulling it to move the bow of the boat over a little bit to give me a better line to leave our berth. So I've given the stern line a pull, and I'm just going to drop it back onto the pontoon and then power back in astern. And now what happens is the tension just comes onto that midship cleat line, and then as the tension comes on, the midship cleat line pulls the boat round to starboard, so it overcomes my prop walk, because I can't make that turn effectively without it. So now I'm in astern. That cleat line, you can just about see it coming from the end of the pontoon, and it's just following the radius around and making the boat do that turn to starboard that I can't do myself. So I've given my pole a good yank. Sorry, no smutty jokes. Now the problem is there, you can see the prop walk. The prop's going to port, and the bow is coming around to starboard, which isn't the direction I want to go. So what I'm going to have to do is come out of astern, go into forward, pull the tiller over and just give it a kick to just level the bow back up again. Now I didn't give it enough of a kick here. I should have done that for a couple of seconds more, and you can see it's still pointing the wrong way. So anyway, I'm back into astern, and yeah, once again you can see the bow will start creeping over the wrong way. There's no point trying to steer with the tiller at this stage, because there's not enough way on for the tiller to be effective. I can feel there's no weight in it. It's not going to work. So again, the prop walk is sending the stern back to port, so I have to pull the tiller over to starboard again, give it a good kick in forward. All I'm trying to do is just level the boat up so that I can get out. Now it's more or less pointing the right way, the stern, to get out of this finger. So I'm back into astern, and almost as soon as I'm back into astern, you can see the prop walk is sending the boat, the stern, back off to port again, and the tiller just isn't effective at this stage. The prop walk is quite strong in this boat. It'll take a couple of boat lengths for it to start working. I'm looking to see, can I make the end of the pontoon, the finger, even with this prop walk. And it's just about becoming effective, so I'm moving the tiller over to try and counteract prop walk, and it's not working particularly well. It's still not going to starboard, but I'm at the end of the finger. I'm just about made the end, despite the fact that the boat was gradually creeping across to port. I just about made it. So sometimes you just need to do little corrections in forward, just with the tiller over, and it just kicks the bow in the right way, which gives you more of a chance to counteract your prop walk. So leveling up and just leaving the end of the finger now. I've got plenty of room to maneuver here. By the way, hello to Connor and Ethan, two young possible sailors to be. We had a really, really good weekend, guys. Thanks very much. But we find the midship cleat line essential for making that turn, because otherwise we just couldn't make that turn to starboard with the prop walk. It's actually worse on a day like this with less wind, because usually the prevailing wind is westerly, which comes from the starboard side. So you leave your berth and the prevailing wind then pushes the bow in the right direction, which means you your stern is pointing out of the finger. So usually when there's a little bit more wind, as long as it's the prevailing directions, it actually helps us, because it helps us overcome our prop walk. So in a way, it's actually harder when there's no wind, because then prop walk is strong enough that you just can't overcome it with steering, and there's no wind to help you. But it's fine. You just have to not panic, and then use little corrective bursts in forward with the tiller over to just maintain your direction. And if you have to do that a couple of times, well, that's fine. It's not the end of the world. Just approaching the entrance to Scarborough Harbour here. I'm on my way up to Brunswick Bay, which is about 20 odd miles up the coast. Wonderful, wonderful place. Right, so this is Brunswick Bay. I'm just getting ready to anchor. You can see the village off there. It's actually a lot closer than it looks. It's because it's a GoPro fisheye lens and it looks like it's miles away, but it's not. Just anchoring. Wonderful anchorage. Again, hardly any wind all day. So I had the bike packed up on the foredeck in a waterproof bag. I know I said this was all about sailing, but there's a bit of biking in it as well. Now this is the hill coming out of Brunswick Bay. There's the village on the right. Quite a steep hill. It's about 25% or so. It's maintained that kind of gradient most of the way up. I got out of the saddle there to try and get more power to start, but unfortunately there's some grease and gravel on the road, so the back wheel started slipping a little bit. So back in the saddle. The gadget I've got in front, there are two numbers. The one on the middle on the left is cadence. The one on the middle on the right is power. So generally I was around about 50 RPM on cadence. I'm putting out about 400 to 450 watts up this hill. Fairly steep, and you need to give it a fair bit of beats to get up there. But yeah, great hill. The problem is I hadn't started the gadget. I hadn't recorded it. I normally put these rides on Strava, and I should have pressed record right at the start, so it didn't unfortunately pick up the stats for that hill climb. But there you go, 400 to 450 watts. This is well, this is what it is. Just bashing along the roads around by Brunswick, having a great time. Really, really nice day. Biking and boating. Absolutely nothing better. Yeah, that was a hoot of a ride. Right, so this is at the end of the ride, just coming back into Brunswick. So this is the road. I'll give you an idea how steep this is. Again, it's a bit difficult to tell because it is a GoPro, so they do tend to. It is hard to gauge gradients in the hills. So you can see on the power there, obviously going down a hill like this, the power's gone right off. I'm actually hard on my brakes most of the way down here. And there's Brunswick Bay opening up in front of me. Dry, but quite greasy because there was actually a JCB clearing the way. The coastal defences had been eroded, so they were loading, or rather they were unloading massive great boulders to strengthen the coastal defences. So a JCB had come down here, just about there. There's a load of grease. Right, back down, and there's a yacht in the middle of the bay, in Brunswick Bay. Wonderful, wonderful anchorage. Right, bike packed up again in the tender, Brunswick village there, getting back out to the boat. Dawn at Brunswick Bay. Wonderful. That's the freighter right there. anchored in the bay. Now there was a smaller, almost an amphibious landing craft came up in the middle of the night a few times to offload those boulders. Just getting underway. Dawn, just heading back to back down the coast. Lovely day sailing. Right, that's a view of the bike in its bag, just lashed to the foredeck. That white box there, it's a bit funny looking visually, but actually it's very handy. It's got our fishing rods in it. So yeah, useful piece of kit made by Phil. Here's the wind vane doing the job. Wind Pilot Pacific Plus, wonderful piece of kit. Did most of the steering that day. Cheerio.